Yeah, we try to take care of you. Good. Smithville Board of Aldermen meeting is now called to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is item number 3, public hearing for the annexation of 809 Second Creek Road. The purpose of this public hearing is for the Board of Aldermen to hear testimony relating to the proposed annexation of 809 Second Creek Road. Persons wishing to be heard at the public hearing should have signed up with the city clerk. You must give your name and address. Public present via video conference will be given the opportunity to be heard this evening. Each person will have a 3-minute time limit. If you have concerns other than annexation that are specifically related to this annexation, those concerns can be brought forward during the public comment section of today's meeting. The public hearing for annexation of 809 Second Creek Road is now open. The city will present its evidence first. Jack Hendricks, Development Director, will provide a report.
Good evening. Ooh, is this on? Good evening. You may recall, we have the board has adopted an annexation policy. It's on your general policy available on the city website. In it, it's got several different items that you have to go through, one of which is the declaration of intent. In this case, for 809, which is down here, it's a house down here on Second Creek on the south side of the road. It's to ensure residents outside of the corporate limits who benefit from the access to cities' utility facilities could contribute to property taxes and other revenues to help pay for those costs. That's the purpose for this request, is so that they can have access to the sewer that's already on their property. And the annexation shall generally avoid creating islands or donut holes within the city limits. This is an existing donut hole. It takes part of it away. And then, yeah, there are sanitary sewers. They want to connect to it. They've already got water service. They already have a septic system. My guess is they're hedging their bets that their septic doesn't fail, so that they have access to sewer. They gave an easement for the city to run a sewer line up their property when we did that project in 2019. So lastly, there is a requirement that the property be contiguous and compact to the city as defined in state law. And that means not less than 15% of the perimeter of the parcel you're talking about has to be touching the city, existing city limits. This lot has 50%. The north and the west boundary are touching the city's limit, so it meets that standard. That's all.
Thank you, Jack.
Just a question, Jack. You said that the requirement is 15%, correct?
1.5, yes.
Thank you.
Any public comment on this one, Linda? Okay. No one signed up. There being no further testimony, I close public hearing for the annexation of 809 Second Creek Road. Next is number 4. Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, public hearing for the annexation of 14422 Mount Olivet Road. Purpose of this public hearing is for the Board of Aldermen to hear testimony related to the proposed annexation of 14422 Mount Olivet Road. Persons wishing to be heard at this public hearing should have signed up with the city clerk, and you must give your name and address. Public present via video conference will be given the opportunity to be heard this evening. Each person will have a 3-minute time limit. If you have concerns other than annexation that are specifically related to this annexation, those concerns can be brought Forward during the public comment section of today's meeting, the public hearing for the annexation of 14422 Mount Olivet Road is now open. City will present its evidence first. Jack Hendricks, Development Director, will provide a report.
Hello again. 14422 Mount Olivet Road is at the northwest corner of Mount Olivet and 144th Street. Just across the street to the north from the Estates at the Ranch project that we did as a city, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe 4. Similar to the previous one, we have the annexation policy. One of the items in it is the declaration of intent. In this case, the intent is to promote orderly growth by facilitating long-range planning for the provision of municipal services and applying appropriate land use regulations, development standards, property maintenance, all the yada yada things. In this scenario, as you all may certainly understand, we have issues with our north-south traffic. We have one road that does that, 169. This will get us over to at least touching Mount Olivet, which runs fairly far south. So it'll give us another north-south access. In addition to 169, and then on the south part, there is a little bit of Virginia that does the same thing. The priority for annexation in this type of a scenario is, or policy is, that annexation should have a positive impact on the city financially. The city shall pursue annexation that adds to the economic stability of the city. This application for annexation is preceding a proposed application to develop this 185 acre parcel with at least 34 lots, roughly 5.6 acre average size. Some of them are much bigger. Some of them go down to 3.5 acres. In this scenario, there's already water. There's no sewers in the area. It's all public or private septic. So there's all the utilities in place. This doesn't cause the city any heartburn from having to extend utilities a big distance and having long maintenance scenarios. The only scenario in this that will cause city to have to expend funds will be the future and permanent maintenance of the roads that get annexed, which will be part of 144th, part of Mount Olivet. Part of the development agreement we anticipate in this will include improvements to 144th and some improvements to Mount Olivet, plus a new road that they'll have to build later. And again, this property is required to be contiguous and compact, which is that 15% standard. This one is significantly larger than the little 2 or 1 acre parcel over on the other street. It, however, does have 19.28% of its total perimeter touching the city limits. So it's over that 15% min. I think that's it. Obviously, if there is an annexation that is approved on this, they will submit an application to do a rezoning and a development.
Thank you, Jack. I'll call upon the persons who wish to speak in the order they signed up with the city clerk. The only one I have is Marshall. Okay. Any other? No? All right, well. Being no further testimony, I close the public hearing for annexation of 14422 Mount Olivet Road. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, might I interrupt?
Yeah.
Linda, I just want to confirm, we've got the information on the screen from the last meeting. I just want to make sure that we're still live on.
Yep, 14 people, including us. Okay. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Alderman Atkins?
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Next item is the committee reports. EDC. Just gonna fall to you, Gina, since your EDC rep's not here tonight.
The EDC met in closed session. And then we have canceled our December meeting for the holiday, because it falls in between Christmas and New Year's. So our next meeting will be in January. And And Matt will be joining us to talk about the community art program. And then we'll have next steps for the next meeting. And then you can expect a staff report in a future meeting for the EDC, some of the things that they're working on, and they'd like some feedback.
Appreciate it.
Mayor, if I might, I will just clarify the closed session that the EDC met in. We had new members to that committee, and anytime we have new folks, and try on an annual basis with all of our committees to have an orientation with our city attorney as to the roles, responsibilities, and expectations of the members of those committees. So just want to make sure that people understood what that closed session was for.
Sounds good. Thank you. Finance Committee, who's taking this one?
Me take it. Go for it. We met November 28th, had a really good meeting. We discussed, in addition to our normal things that are on our agenda, we had some good conversation on COP issuance. And we talked about utility disconnection overviews. And then Cynthia provided us with a little bit of direction on how the finance director recruitment update was going. And we talked about our next meeting will probably be the end of January, given time for city staff to work through their changes from one software financial system to another one. And with having an active or interim finance director, give them time to work through all of the migration and everything. But that's when we're looking to meet again, is towards the end of January. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is City Administrator's Report. Do we want to let Bob go first? In case he wants to run
I
out the
was
door.
going to call on him. That would be great. I have asked Bob Limley to provide some information. We know that there are concerns with the water, and we've had ongoing taste and odor issues, and have asked Bob to provide some information to the board on that.
Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna just give a brief summary of how this taste and odor, why we have taste and odor. It's basically algae, aquatic plant life, leaves, anything that runs into our watershed goes in there, and then it pretty much just dies, and then we got to deal with what is left, the organics from that. This year has been particularly worse than in past years. I've been here almost 25 years, and we've had other years that were pretty bad. The drought isn't helping us any. If you notice, the spillway hasn't been opened. The water's just sitting there. So usually in the past, if we have a normal rain season, it'll get open, that water will get circulated. Unfortunately, we're not like Kansas City. We don't have a flowing river that you get different water all the time. We got pretty much a mud puddle sitting there, and we pull from that. So what fights taste and odor? Carbon, disinfection, chlorine dioxide, permanganate, and filters. Permanganate just a chemical that will take the organics out, and our filters. The carbon feeder has been down. The carbon feeder is almost 30 years old. It's been fixed many, many a times over the years. It's on its last leg. The chlorine dioxide, we just replaced that here a couple months ago at a cost of $10,000. So that system is fully up and running. The permanganate really helps a lot with taste and odor. A lot of people say carbon, carbon, carbon. Permanganate will do the same thing as carbon. We weren't able to feed permanganate for about the last 8 months because of the raw water pump items that weren't corrected or weren't done right. And we didn't feel safe feeding permanganate out there without eyes on. So we were feeding it from the plant. So the trunk line that runs from the dam to the water plant wasn't getting any kind of treatment to it. You weren't getting your treatment till it hit right at the water plant. So that really not good for the taste and odor. We got the permanganate online out there now. It's been online for about 3 weeks. We have noticed at the water plant that there's no odor. The water tastes fine. We got to get that out into the system. You will notice here in a couple months, month or so, that the water will improve. What a lot of people don't realize either, that 1 gallon of water from our plant to Forest Oaks takes 21 days to get there. I know that sounds, there's no way. Well, it's got to go through the pipes, in the towers, out the towers. And it takes 21 days for a gallon of water to travel that far. The filters are 30 years old. The filters we got, they're not, obviously not 100% efficient. So the carbon feeder, let's go back to carbon and chlorine dioxide. They both help with taste and odor. When they designed this plant back in '93, when they did the upgrade, back then the technology was, let's feed them both right here and it'll be great. Well, no, now they know more, the chemists and everybody. You shouldn't feed them both right at the same place. Well, we don't have an option. That's the way they designed it, and that's the way it's being fed right now. So the carbon, the disinfection, the chlorine dioxide, the permanganate, and the filters have all been in the budget for this year. So we will be, I got with Chuck, and we're gonna advertise all those things for the upgrade to the plant. Come January 1st, we'll do the pre-bid, the bid opening. We'll award the bid on March 5th. So all those items are going to be addressed. But I think you'll notice with the permanganate that it's going to help a lot and improve a lot of things. And we're hoping it's over $1 million, the estimate from the engineers to just do what we need to do to keep the plant going and try to combat the taste and odor. We're still going to have it. When it gets done, you'll have it again next year. You know, you got sensitive people out there, but you know, it's going to happen when the lake turns over, and the lake doesn't flip all at one time. The lake coves flip first because they're shallower. And then if he's got the spillway open, and we're pulling those organics toward our intake, because our intake's right at the dam. So the lake takes a few months for the entire thing to flip over. So that's why you run into taste and odor a lot during the summer months, because the water's heating up and it's bringing all the organics toward the dam. I hope that explains it in a nutshell, but the water is completely safe. We follow all federal and state standards. We give reports to DNR. DNR thought there was something wrong. DNR would come up and check and say, hey, we want an inspection. We want to see what's going on. There's nothing wrong with the water. I drink the water every day. My family drinks the water every day. Yeah, well, if you taste it and you're like, there's got to be something. No, it meets all the standards from the federal and state officials. Oh yeah, we run over 300 tests a day, and then monthly we go out through the entire system. We go to Forest Oaks, through the middle of town, all the way to the far north end, because the state makes us do that. So we do that, and we run monthly tests, and then they run their tests to make sure there's nothing wrong with the water. And if there was, by law, we would have to notify.
Bob, the tests, then I've been out there. I know you guys run a lot of tests a day. They're kept on premise? Are they put somewhere, sent to somebody? We just keep them for records?
We have to keep those records for 5 years.
Okay,
When the state comes to inspect, they want to see your daily operation records.
okay.
And these tests that we run are kept on file for 5 years.
Okay, thank you. And the taste and the odor, that's a complaint that we continue to get when the lake turns, right? That's the issues. When we're testing, it's not necessarily for taste and odor, but like you said,
No.
the permanganate and the carbon are helping. So when we see that a lower level, we know it's gonna be smelly, right? How do we know that? Because the taste and odor, their senses, how are we, do you know to combat that?
You'll start noticing the odor at the plant, because obviously that's where it's coming in first. And then if everything was running like it's supposed to, which I'm hoping we do once we do this upgrade, hey, we're getting a little bit of odor. You might want to go out there and turn the carbon up, or hey, you might want to check the permanganate feed and let's make sure we test the drawdowns every day. They're done every 2 hours while the plant's running to ensure all the chemicals are feeding the right amount. And then if we get complaints out in the system, then we'll go out there and like a lot of complaints will be a dead end line, cul-de-sacs where the water isn't moving. This year, it's everywhere. It's not just dead ends, the taste is everywhere. And it just, with the drought and the water not moving and some deficiencies here that we got in the budget to take care of, I'm pretty sure it'll fix the problem. We're always gonna have taste and odor though. So until we can get the technology and obviously the money to build a new water plant in the future, hopefully by then some chemist and engineer will say, hey, this is the fix. I guarantee it. And we know it's not.
Well, and Bob, you and Chuck and I have talked also, the new plant will go a long way in addressing those issues. The day the new plant is built doesn't necessarily mean that's when taste and odor issues are fixed. You heard
Right.
Bob say it takes some time and it's also going to take some time managing those chemical equations really of when the permanganate gets added, when the carbon gets added, how that affects. And as we adjust to that new building, that will be a learning curve for us as well. Just like getting the raw water pump station has been a kind of an exercise in figuring out where
Right.
things are. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, the raw
the
water
right word.
building was obviously, we started during COVID and supplies weren't there and everything got delayed and it was drug out way longer than it needed to be. And when we start a new water plant, you got to figure we're
But
going to
it-
double our capacity. So.
And it's figuring those right calculations and a big thing with water on taste and odor is contact time, the amount of time that water has, that raw water has with those chemicals. And so when you move the location of something or you change when you're adding a chemical equation to the process, it changes that taste and odor. And as Bob said, it takes a while then for that to filter through the whole system. I've had conversations with a number of you over the last several days, and we've gotten to a point where I kind of talk about it. This is a puzzle, but it's a 3D puzzle with moving parts. I mean, it has a lot of different pieces, not to make excuses, but it is something that it's frustrating to try to figure out and get right. But staff is working to address that. Staff has identified those needs for different pieces for the system. And these are part of what go into the rate structure and the needs that we have for that system.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah, thank you, Bob, for coming.
Bob, thank you very much. I will just call your all's attention to a few items in the city administrator's report. There's good information in there, but did want to let you all know there toward the end, the Clay County is currently updating their comprehensive plan. And they've gone through a process of significant public involvement. Jack and I have been involved in some meetings of local officials on that and wanted to call your attention to the survey that they have out online that's open through the end of this year and would strongly encourage governing body members and the public to go to that site, Clay County 2040 Compass Comprehensive Plan, and participate in that survey. Did want to call your attention to our meeting schedule. We will, City Hall will be closed from 11:30 to 1 next Thursday for City Hall Employee Holiday Luncheon. And then we will be closed December 25th and Monday, January 21st for the Christmas and New Year's holidays. And the mayor has identified January 2nd as a day that we will cancel that board meeting. A lot of work involved in getting an agenda around for that date, and we don't have urgent pressing issues on that point. Alderman Wilson indicated that I had provided an update at the Finance Committee meeting on the recruitment process for the finance director. I wanted to provide you all with some additional information. The applications for the finance director position are available online. First review, and the position is open until filled. First review of applications started last Friday. So far, we've had about 10 applications. Gina and I reviewed those first that came in, and we are in the process this week of conducting pre-screen Zoom interviews with 6 candidates. We have a really wide variety of experience. Several people have local government experience. Some have some financial experience in the military. We have people from different places throughout the metro area, some school districts. So we are excited about the candidate pool that we're looking at and hope to narrow that down to 2 to 4 candidates to bring in for an interview process. We typically, in looking at director positions, involve members of the governing body, the public, and city staff in panel interviews because the finance committee is so directly involved with and works closely with the finance director. Mayor and I have talked about having Mayor Boley as well as members of the finance committee. That'd be Alderman Wilson, Alderman Shipley, and April Haddock, who is a resident appointee to that committee, serve on the panel for that interview process. And we hope to be able to, we're really hopeful that after the first of the year, very soon after the first of the year, would have a candidate identified and negotiating and working with them for their notification for their prior job and an aggressive schedule to have someone here first part of February. I believe that's my report, Mayor, unless
Any
there are other
questions for Ms. Wagner? Moving on to number 8 on the agenda. Alderman Yulidol.
Motion to approve bill number 3018-23, declaring the November 7th, 2023 election results, first reading.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Yulidol,
Aye.
Alderman Atkins,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Shipley,
Aye.
Alderman Russell.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Ms. Wagner, please read the bill.
An ordinance declaring and certifying the results of the November 7th, 2023 special election held in the city of Smithville, Missouri.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is number 9. Alderman Yulidol.
Motion to approve bill number 3019-23, annexation 809 Second Creek Road, first reading.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Yulidol,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Atkins,
Aye.
Alderman Shipley,
Aye.
Alderman Russell.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Ms. Wagner, please read the bill.
An ordinance annexing certain adjacent territory into the city of Smithville, Missouri.
Okay, next item on the agenda is number 10. Alderman Yulidol.
Motion to approve bill number 3020-23, annexation 14422 Mount Olivet Road, first reading.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Jack, do you want to chat with him? Okay, okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Any discussion from the board? Clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Atkins,
Aye.
Alderman Russell,
Aye.
Alderman Shipley,
Aye.
Alderman Yulidol,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson.
Aye.
5-0.
Motion carries. Ms. Wagner, please read the bill.
An ordinance annexing certain adjacent territory into the city of Smithville, Missouri.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is number 11. Alderman Yulidol.
Motion to approve bill number 3021-23, agreement with MoDOT, first reading.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or public comment on this one? No. Yes, go ahead.
I have a question, Mayor Bully.
Yep.
On this, thanks Chuck for the work that you did on this, first of all, to get this, but on the amendment with the monies that we're getting and our, the money that we need to match, how much does that come to?
Total project's about 1.8 is the estimate. I sat down with Is this off?
You're on. You just gotta talk into it.
I sat down with HDR last week, and we talked about a few things, so we definitely will get it under the estimate this. But, yeah, we're still doing the same project, you know, the full streetscape project. We're pulling back. We don't have to do the intersection. We were overlaying it just to make it look nice and, you know, connected and finished, but we'll just go to the actual end of Bridge Street, right at First Street. And the roundabout's gonna go there anyway, so in a couple of years that would be tore out. So we're saving that. We're pulling out the utility parts of the project. We don't have to do those now, other than the water line, and we're gonna bid that separately. And next week, well, the next meeting, you'll have an agreement, an amendment with, HDR to pull the utility part out so we can bid that. And then just a few changes that we've made to the, plan so that we can make sure it comes in under, but it's 1.8 total project.
Chuck, our portion of
Our
the amount.
portion, is 20% of that, so we're at 372. But we won't be spending that much. It's an 80-20 grant.
Okay,
And we
right.
had budgeted,
We've got 340 in the budget currently.
Okay, okay, that's.
It
that's
was
what
originally 50-50, right?
Yeah, I can't remember what the original,
Yeah.
but it was like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That answered the question.
Pretty
Thank
close.
you.
and Linda, I don't know if somebody had a question online, perhaps. I mean, there are no comments. I don't
No, they
see
didn't.
so, yeah.
Email her. Yeah, I don't see anything. All right, clerk, please call roll.
Alderman Shipley,
Aye.
Alderman Wilson,
Aye.
Alderman Atkins,
Aye.
Alderman Russell,
Aye.
Alderman Yulidol. 5-0.
Motion carries. Ms. Wagner, this is a long one, so please read the bill.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a Transportation Alternatives Funds Program supplemental agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for improvements to Bridge Street from Church Street to First Street, including infrastructure improvements, encouraging safer routes for non-motorized users, and improving the pedestrian environment.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any new business?
Mayor, I have something I'd like to add. I want to say, start off by saying that I wasn't at the Christmas parade, but I heard a lot of really positive comments from a lot of people about it. And Charlene Bruce, who puts that together, great job for her and all the volunteers. There was a couple issues that some citizens brought to my attention that we might want to address in the future. I did talk to Matt a little bit before the meeting, but we might want to, as the city grows and as the parades grow, I think we want to probably have a work session to address again some of the stuff like candy throwing. We had reports of people running out a lot more now, kids running out in front of the parade routes in between there, and also a lot of flyers and trash left this time. That I think that's something we need to touch on is the flyers and stuff that are allowed to be put out, passed around, whatever, because a lot of them end up on the ground. So I think we want to have a work session in the future to address that.
I think we've already updated the policy for both those issues, right, Matt? I know they had caution tape out this time, which I hadn't seen before at the parade, along Main Street. But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of trash. I know Matt has a lot of trash cans too, so
Yeah.
he's already talked about working with her to get more of those out there, so.
I
Um,
do know, sorry, that, Charlene has indicated that there will not be any candy throwing going forward. She's already mentioned that after what happened this year with just all the kids
Yeah.
coming in. So that probably would be from an organizer of the event saying that's not going to happen.
Okay.
It was a great parade, yeah. Thanks for all those that helped put that together. It's not a easy event. I know Matt had to do a lot of work on it too to help it go, and so. Thank you. Anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Say no. Stand adjourned.